Happy Sunday, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Rawstocks. This is Rustic. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple different stocks. We're going to look at Tesla. We're going to look at SPY. We're going to look at QQQ. We're going to look at nvidia. We're going to look at Meta today. We're going to look at the daily charts. We're not going to dig any deeper than that. This is just a weekend update so that we can start to anticipate where price might head into the following week. But before we get started, don't forget to check out the description below. There's some links to the Rawstocks Discord where we have call outs for premium members, as well as a link to the site you can go to upgrade if you're interested in getting those call outs. Also a link to Top Step where you can attempt to become a futures funded trader and trade with prop firm money instead of your own. The combines are on sale right now for $49, and those are for a 50K account. So let's dig into the charts. First thing we're going to look at as Tesla. You can see on the chart we've had just this tremendous sell-off. We saw a nice little bounce, and then we had, some more selling over the last 2 weeks. What we want to draw our eyes to is that if we use a couple trend lines, when we connect the tops here and we connect the bottoms here, you can see that we are at bottom or at support level in that kind of falling wedge pattern. And we found ourselves right at an order block where we saw not one but two bottoms here. Both found the support in the order block. Right on support trend as well. This can be a sign that we might see price start to make some kind of push up. We also have on the daily chart, we have RSI divergence setting up. So this could be a short-term bottom. Doesn't mean we're going to stay here, but it could be a short-term bottom for sure. Also, we had the market structure shift here as we took that new low. We have a breaker block that could act as resistance and become a mitigation block. And what that would look like is price finding support, trading back up into that breaker block where it mitigates price, and then price comes back down to dig further into this order block. Eventually, it'll probably set some kind of short-term or long-term swing low, and then we'll see price come back up, a market structure shift, right? And then see price start to head back a little bit higher. So that is definitely the setup that we're watching to play out. If you were to extend the trend lines a little bit, you would see that we could potentially have that new low come out, run the stops, right? Set up a new market maker buy model where we'd be looking for, again, market structure shift to occur here, take out that breaker block entirely, right? Come back down, probably going to be a fair value gap in here, a retracement back to optimal trade entry between, 62 and 70.5%, and then see price start to target buy side liquidity to the upside. Now, if we were to dig even deeper than that, we can see that we have sell side liquidity all the way out here, and it could, run that out all in one move. But that also could mean that if we weren't to have this scenario play out that I've drawn out here, that we could see this completely fall apart, right? And what that would look like is a test there, and then just more like a capitulation style sell-off where we have some additional targets down below. I would expect that if we run this liquidity all the way out, though, that we'll probably see price try to push back up again before we eventually target those lows. So I am looking for, 150-ish to hold as long-term support for us to make a move back up higher. But mostly this is what I'm looking at on the daily time frame. Is this order block to hold, this trend support to hold, then we'll determine if we want to break through the resistance or not, and that's right around where we got that breaker block. So that breaker block's either going to act as mitigation and drive price lower, or we're going to break through that breaker block, see some structure change, and then start to target buy side liquidity. So that's what we have to look forward to on Tesla. I know it looks weak, it's been selling off, but at some point in time it has to find a level of support, and then it will make a move back in the upward direction. Right now, it's starting to, if you're looking at short, I'd say you kind of missed the boat, and you're starting to limit your reward to risk ratio if you're looking to short Tesla. Jump over to SPY. SPY, we have that trend that we've been watching that we ended up gapping down below. We have an inverted fair value gap on the daily time frame. So that is a bearish look. Okay, we have that trend. We try to test it. We try to push back up, and we held that trend as resistance now. So we do have, potential sell side targets on the way back down. That if we break this low from Friday, which is about, let's just see, low is 508.12. If we break below that, we'll be looking to target the low of this candle here, which is 504.91. And then we have an imbalance right here in this gap, and we'd be looking to target that as well. So let's put those on our charts. We got the volume imbalance inside that gap where we have not seen price trade back into, and I'd say that's a likely target if we start to see this fall apart even more. If we look at Qs look a little bit more weak. Same thing, gap that trend line, traded down. We see it took this low, did not close below, but it did take that low. So we are looking for us here again on Qs. We see the imbalance just like we did on SPY. Right, SPY has not got back down into the imbalance, the gap. Qs is a little closer. So we can look to Qs to say market's starting to fall apart. It's starting to look a little bit weak. We could pull into this imbalance, and from there we could see further rallying up. But we are looking for price to dig down deeper into this, right? And we're looking for price to potentially come back down to 425.81 on the Qs to fully fill that gap. And then potentially it could make a decision to run back higher, back on buy side, or it just could be a shallow retracement back up and then target additional sell side targets. So we will be watching, but that trend breaking is an important piece of what has been going on lately. And we will be looking to see if we run a test on that or if it just, holds as resistance and then we see it fall down into that gap. If we look at nvidia, we got on the chart, we got a breaker block here. Okay, we saw price run up. We got our swing high buy side liquidity up here. We do have some volume imbalances down here that we're likely to trade down into. Now we talked about last week looking at the high to low here for nvidia to pull back up into this optimal trade, back into a premium price range where you could look to go short. Okay, so if you took that short, it was nice. You got a nice 3 days of selling here. Now, I do anticipate that we're probably going to come back down into this volume imbalance down around 820, the high being 838. So 838 down to 820, potentially down into the breaker block and see if that breaker block holds as support. So I do expect a little bit more selling. Doesn't mean we can't pop back up, but I do expect us to come back down into this volume imbalance in this breaker block. So any kind of pop up, you might look to take a short. I know nvidia definitely price can run so fast and it can be intimidating to trade it. But we are looking again for price to come back down into this breaker block or this volume imbalance before potentially running back up towards the old high. Now, if we do see an immediate rally up next week and we just straight up come out here, we'll be looking to see if this runs the stops, right? And then we see additional selling down into that volume imbalance. So that's totally possible too, because we didn't end the week taking a new low. The low was set on Monday, high was set on Tuesday, and then we faded inside the same weekly range. So something you could also have on your chart, we already have the Monday low, but you could also have the weekly range. You can see also on the week we failed to take a new high, so that's also important that we had a inside week from the previous week. We ran a test of the previous week low. We did not quite get there. So we're inside week here compared to the previous week. So we'll be looking to see, does this 920 break first or does this 842.50 break first? And then we can look to trade the direction of the trend there. You also could use a trend line here and just kind of gauge out a little bit of, resistance, overhead resistance. And so you could say if it breaks above this, we might target the previous week high. If it stays below it, we might target that volume imbalance in that breaker block. Last thing we're going to look at today is we're going to look at Meta. And on Meta, you can also see that it's looking a little bit weak. We saw that push up after earnings, and we had dividends. We pushed up. We set a new high. We can mark that off on our chart as a long-term swing high that we will look to target at some point in time. But right now we have that push down. We pop back up. We had an inverted fair value gap. So in this case, that's bearish. And we saw price trade back up into that inverted fair value gap. So fair value gap was set over here from the 5th to the 7th. It was a bullish fair value gap where we set a top. We traded back down through it. That means inverted fair value gap. Then we popped back into it. We also saw price rebalance. There was a volume imbalance here between the 8th and the 11th. We saw price rebalance that and then start to trade down. We saw a market structure shift, right? And what things we're looking for on the ICT 2022 mentorship model. So we're looking for a market structure shift and a retrace into a fair value gap. So market structure shift, retraced into the inverted fair value gap, balanced the imbalance in this liquidity void, started to trade down. So we are looking for price to come down, take the equal lows that are 476.20, and then there's a volume imbalance between the equal lows and 468.67. So we are looking for price to potentially come back into that volume imbalance. Then we have a larger gap from earnings, and we will eventually look for price to deliver back into that area. Okay, doesn't have to fully fill. And so what we are seeing is this. I'm anticipating into the volume imbalance, right? Or somewhere down here, there's some kind of consolidation in that area, right? Maybe we come down a little bit further, and then maybe we see that pop back up into this breaker block where that market structure shift happened, and then potentially down into the gap from earnings. So another thing we want to have on our chart, if you're tracking Meta, so we want to have the breaker block where that market structure shift occurred. So we'll put it there. We put it in yellow. And that is a breaker block. And it could potentially become a mitigation block if price trades back up into it. And then it rejects price. At that point, it'd be a mitigation block, and we'd see price rally back down, down into the daily gap from earnings. So that's what I got for you guys today. Hopefully it's been helpful. Don't forget to smash a like, subscribe, share with all your friends. Join the premium section of the Discord if you haven't already, or if you're not even in the Discord. It's free to join. Great community. A lot of chat going on during market hours. A lot of sharing information. But again, if you want the premium call-outs, the option call-outs, the book study that we do live on Sundays, private chat, some other premium features, jump on, check out the link in the description. There's a 50% off code going on right now. Code is Rawstocks. It'll give you 50% off the first month, which makes that membership only $12.50 for the first month, at which we basically guarantee that you will make that $12.50 back within your first trading month. On top of that, there's a 7-day free trial. So before you even get charged, you can try for 7 days. And that 7-day trial is only available on the month-to-month membership. So give it a whirl if you haven't already. Thanks for the support. We'll see you guys on the next one.